When you look at Aaron Civale, that's a guy that people thought was going to do pretty good, but I don't know that anybody thought he was going to be quite as good as Aaron Civale has been. You saw flashes of it, but it's been pretty consistent on the mound. And boy, have the Indians needed that consistency given where the starting rotation is. He's the lone guy of that five that broke Arizona that's still going.
Yeah, what a time to try to get into that consistent groove for him. I think that this is exactly what the Indians need right now, especially if they're trying to get creative with this rotation and maybe not get too deep of starts from the rest of the guys who either start or open or however they go throughout this rotation through the next few weeks. Having a guy at least that can go every fifth day and have the chance of getting into the seventh or eighth, that's going to be huge for them right now. And to see that he's really gotten into his groove. He's really found everything, it seems like. I know that he went through a complete overhaul this offseason to just change his delivery, his arm slot, everything that he could possibly change. He started from scratch, and it's really, really working. He knew it would take some time, and he's really gotten into the groove now. And so for him to be clicking like that, I think that's the only thing that the Indians could ask for right now. And as long as he doesn't take it where it's too much pressure on him, because essentially could look at it as he's the one-man rotation that they have right now. I think that all things considered, he's in a really good spot for this challenge.
It almost has a feel that they're piecing together the pitching like you do in spring training, where, all right, let's get these guys 3-inning chunks and get their pitches in so that we don't wear any of them out, because we're going to probably need each and every one of that 10 to 11-man bullpen to get through until guys get healthy and are back in the rotation.
That's exactly what it feels like. I think that Tito's already sort of hinted at the fact that they're looking to do sort of basically that approach with J.C. Mejia and possibly Cal Quantrill too, where you keep them around that 55, 60 pitch mark, and then you pull them out, assuming that they're not too hot. Tito said on nights you're going to obviously allow a guy to stay in a little bit deeper if he's rolling. But if you get 55 to 60 pitches out of them, they get you 3 or 4 or 5 innings, maybe if you're lucky. Then you pull them out, and then they can go again on short rest. This is going to be creative. Tito said we've talked to them. We're asking them not only to just develop at the big league level, especially for a guy like J.C. Mejia who has such little experience, but we're asking them to do things that we haven't even had them do in the minor leagues. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to get very creative. We're going to see approaches that they've never had to take before, because we're so used to them having just endless amounts of starting pitching depth. So I think it's going to be interesting. And Tito said that at least as long as you can look at it as a fun challenge and look at it that way instead of the woe is me type of approach, they're confident that they'll be able to figure it out.
And the flip side of it is with the way the back end of that bullpen is set up, you're looking to make this a 7-inning game. If you can get to the 7th, and I know some fans are crazy about Brian Shaw, and Brian Shaw's been outstanding. And Shaw, Karinchak, and Clase, however you want to use them, in that 8th and 9th inning, you like your chances if you can get to that point with the lead.
Absolutely. I mean, those 3 guys are as good of a trio as anyone could ask for. So to have that type of back end of the bullpen in a situation like this, that at least brings some reassurance in a time where it's really hard to find any. And I think you saw it last night. You saw Clase, Karinchak both coming out in a pretty decent lead against the Orioles, but you can just tell that they want to win every single game that they can right now, because it's going to be difficult. They're going to use all their best guys as often as they can whenever they are up with a lead. And they just want to secure as many wins as possible. It's going to be difficult, but if there's going to be a stretch throughout a season that they're going to have to go through something like this, I know it's difficult because they only have one off day heading into the All-Star break, but I think this is the best stretch that this could have happened, because they're basically playing only sub 500 teams right now and heading into the All-Star break. So I think that if they're going to have to go through something where they get creative like this is the best time to work it out. You have the Orioles now, you're going into Pittsburgh this weekend. I think that this is just the time for them to be able to get creative like this and maybe not have to face the best of the best. Obviously every single game counts, and that's why we see some of their best relievers going out against them with a 5-run lead like we did last night. But I think that you can see the severities there, and they're really trying to lock up as many wins as possible.
Do you think there's a concern that you could overuse, the middle part of that bullpen? Because, again, the innings don't change. You got to find a way to get from one to the back end of that bullpen, and you have a limited number of arms out there.
Absolutely. Tito says that all the time. Even whenever they did have 5 regular starters in this rotation, he says that's the biggest concern is overusing guys, and it's not lost on everybody that last year was so strange and it was so short. And obviously these guys have been doing this for so long that just 1 year doesn't make them get all thrown off and not get used to having a long 162 game season. But still, it's just not the same amount of workload that they had last year, and it's an adjustment nonetheless. So all of this together, it's something that's definitely top of mind for them, and they're trying to figure out ways to balance it as best as possible. But I think just having those 3 guys that you can go to in any type of crucial situation is super big for them. So that I think last night Shaw was probably out of commission after working the 2 days before that back to back. And I think that then you just start thinking about, okay, well, you have Karinchak and Clase that could go in any type of inning from the 6th on if you needed them. And they have shown that they're not afraid to use guys in different situations. So I think that that's been really important for them. And then you also have guys like Nick Wickren, who he had some stretches this year where he didn't quite look like himself, the same Wickren we've seen the last 2 years. But the Indians have already started to say that they've started to see him look a little bit more like himself. So if you can get him back into that prime that he was in the last 2 seasons, I know they're really optimistic about Nick Sandlin. I mean, there's just different arms that could rotate in here and at least help out some of their really dominant bullpen arms.
And if you're a guy in that bullpen, you're going to have plenty of work ahead of you. So, and that's what you want. You want to pitch. I don't know that you want it in this type of situation.